Hi Valley community, John here. This is going to be my next part of the Chrystal collection series, where I show records that were given to me by a man called Ken. The last one I did, which was the second part of the series, focused mainly on sort of acoustic-y kind of folk type stuff. This time I've picked out those that were more leaning towards the progressive rock type of thing. So I'm going to start off by showing you this, because I'm going to put it on and listen to it while I'm talking. So this is Rick Wakeman's Country Airs. It's not necessarily particularly progressive rock, but it is by Rick Wakeman, who, as we know, is a major figure in progressive rock. That's the label. New Age Landscape series it's called. Okay, I'm going to put this on there. So that's Rick Wakeman. Not particularly progressive, but very, very nice, and it's sort of a testament to his amazing talent with this music. Okay, so the next record I'm going to show is Esquire. Now, when I first pulled this out of the boxes that Ken gave me these records in, I didn't really know what this was, and I sort of looked at it and I thought, oh dear, it's probably some nasty 80s pop type stuff, but not that all 80s pop is nasty, but I just, some of it is, and I just judged this to be that. So, but it's actually not. It's quite late progressive rock. I would even judge it as being sort of quite early neo-progressive rock, and the clue is in the title, Esquire. It's actually an album written, arranged and produced by the band Esquire, who is fronted by this lady. Her name is Nikki Squire, and she was apparently the former wife, or while this was being made, she was the wife of Chris Squire from Yes. And they're not other. I think they separated eventually, but when this was being made, this was the album that she put together. And let's see what I can tell you more about this. I think Alan White as well is kind of involved in this too somehow. Yeah, Alan White on drums. So yeah, quite an unusual, and yeah, Chris Squire mixed and produced this album too. Check it out. It's yeah, not something I'd heard of before. It's not bad. Her voice isn't necessarily the best, but it's a well-made record. And at the time, I should imagine it had a very sort of modern sound to it. Okay, next one is Relics. So this is a Pink Floyd compilation. I didn't have this one. I think it's amongst the first, perhaps not the first Pink Floyd compilation, but it's a very early one. And basically it consists of tracks from the first two Pink Floyd albums, but it also includes 3 tracks that weren't necessarily available anywhere before. One was Arnold Lane, and the other one was See Emily Play, which incidentally was a track that David Bowie covered on his Pin-Ups album. There's also the studio version of what have we got now? Careful with That Axe Eugene, which I don't believe had been a record before. So yeah, that's kind of a fun thing to have. I didn't have it before. As you can see, it's lovely condition. On the Music for Pleasure label. Great to have. And well, this next record needs no introduction, does it? This is, I believe, an original pressing of Wish You Were Here, and it's really quite lovely. Yeah, surprisingly enough, I didn't have this before. Well, at least not on record. I had it on cassette, I had it on CD, but never had it on an album, on vinyl, so that's a lovely thing to have too. And of course, it's like pretty much all of these records that I've got from Ken, it's in lovely, lovely condition. The next album I'm going to show is Focus, a Dutch progressive rock band. This essentially is a reissue of their first album. The track listing is different from the first album, but it's essentially the same tracks. Where have we got? There you go. It is. Yeah, this was released, I think, after the success of their second and third albums. You know, the first album probably didn't really get much attention, but they kind of struck lucky for the next albums after that, and wanted to point out to people, actually, we made a record that you may not have heard before. So that's also a great, and again, lovely condition. Okay, so next I'm going to show compilation album by Camel. This is called The Best of Camel. I don't know if you can see it, it's got quite a nice sort of embossed chameleon there. So this is the first compilation that Camel ever did. Doesn't necessarily seem to be very popular with Camel fans, I think. Reason being that I guess many of albums by Camel are sort of concept albums, and these parts seem all a bit fragmented, I guess, out of context. Okay, so this is a cool one, Refugee. So Refugee are basically what was left of the Nice once Keith Emerson had left to form ELP, these two guys, together with Patrick Moraz, who was the keyboardist that replaced Rick Wakeman on Relaya in Yes, when Rick Wakeman left. As far as I can tell, both these albums, this one and Relaya by Yes, came out in 1974, so I don't really know which came first, this one or Relaya, but this is really highly regarded amongst prog fans, and crazily enough, Ken spent 50p on it. Again, lovely condition. It's on famous Chrystal label, and I haven't really had a chance to kind of suck this up yet, but it gets a lot of really good critique, so I'm looking forward to getting into it. Many people sort of say that this is, you know, the best kind of prog that you can want, so that's really interesting to me. Okay, well, the next one is Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Love Beach. It's got a really cheesy cover. Albeit in great condition. It's got this really fun inserts in it. Two of these. They're basically order forms for ELP paraphernalia. There's two of them. I guess the idea is so you could send one in and keep the other one. has a nice little insert. So yeah, anyway, yeah, there's a label. Not their best work. I think this was one of those albums that came out after they'd had their sort of classic period. Still, I didn't have it, so I'm quite happy to have it now. And then to finish up, I have this compilation, also by ELP. It's not one that I had before, so it's a great addition to my collection. I mean, look at that, it's just immaculate. Like he's never even played it before. You've got to hand it to Ken, he knows how to take care of his records. I've had this on cassette once. I used to listen to it in the car. It was one of those cassettes that you just have in your car continuously and you play it and play it and play it. So great to have that on record. So that was it. The only other thing I've got here is another kind of interesting record, but it's without a cover. And I want to show this because I've got a few other of these in my collection that look just like this. It's like a generic cover, and you can tell that Ken's bought this for 99p. Now I remember at the time when CDs were sort of very hot and people just weren't buying things on record anymore. The record stores were very, very keen to get rid of their stocks, and they had a hard enough time selling records at all. Records that they had in stock that they didn't have the covers to were even harder to shift, so I mean they would almost give them away. And I can remember that time picking up, I think I bought a record by Rat and one by Testament and a few other bands, I'm sure, that I picked up for next to nothing because they were minus their cover. And well, this is one of those. It's a Van de Graaff generator, and it's like a compilation. Okay, that's all I got. This one, look out for my next one. Thanks very much.